Hey, I'm Country Gal Bubba here on Crooked Sea Acres, and on this episode of Modern Day Homesteading in Arizona, we are continuing to work on the foundation. Today is jackhammer day. Yep, got some monsoon weather going on. Good stuff. So to give you an idea of what Billy is dealing with using that jackhammer, this is some lava rock that you commonly see on the surface out here. You know, of course it has some weight to it, but this is also lava rock. Heard some people call it malapai. I gotta look that up. But anyways, this, you can see the color difference. This is actually heavier than this. It's a little bit smaller, but it's super dense. And in the pictures, I'm not doing a lot of video because it's so freaking noisy, but in the pictures you'll see when Billy's using that jackhammer, the dust is just gray like concrete. And Billy's done construction before where he's had to use a jackhammer on concrete. He said, this is nothing like concrete. This is wearing him out, to say the least. I would just like to say I am a firm believer in child labor. However, I did not force my 70-year-old mother-in-law to get in that trench and hammer on that rock. She is just that kind of person. She's out here just to see what we're doing. And yeah, so she's like, man, I need to help. So she gets down there with the hammer. Yeah, she only chipped away about a square inch of rock, but she enjoyed herself and she feels like she helped. That's all that matters. Okay, Bobby. So what do you think about using a jackhammer? So thankfully using a jackhammer worked. We were hoping that it would. So we got this hole finished up. We took care of some other spots. There's pictures I took along the way. And what we had to do, because of all the rock down inside these trenches, we couldn't just put the stakes in the corners like my husband wanted to do. So we set up the stakes on the outside and we strung it up. So then we have our corners where the strings cross. This right here was the most difficult part. You can see all that rock. You know, like it's a massive amount of rock in here. And so thankfully the jackhammer worked and we got it deep enough for what we have to be 18 inches deep, at least from the surface. So my husband will be stair stepping the footers. Here we are the next weekend, and Billy's already been out here putting in these wooden stakes. He has he used the laser level, which is that thing right there, to ensure that we have everything marked with the right depth. And now we're going to, for the depth that it needs to be for the framework that we have to put in, for when the concrete is poured. Because of all the massive rocks, the guys with the tractor just weren't able to dig like a perfect trench for us. However, I will say on that side and most of this side over here, it is a good width, so we won't have to frame that in. But like for the support holes here in the middle, obviously the whole scoop of the tractor was used, and so we don't need it that big. So we have to put in some framework for the concrete for the footers. And all these years of tying cords together, now we have this fancy little plastic contraption. Little things make the job go better. Bobby and Billy have been cutting the boards. Ashley and I are pre-drilling some screws so we could turn them into the boxes necessary for the concrete forms. And you see him out there. We'll get him put in here in the shade of a juniper tree because it's like in the 80s. Smile, you're on camera. I don't even know if I got you. Yeah, you did. Is that right there? Okay. Yeah. Ashley's got this construction thing down. She's cussing like you wouldn't believe, and I'm surprised she's not telling me she needs a beer.
I want a beer.
Bobby, how many times am I supposed to tell you you're not supposed to bury your sister?
How many times have you said it so far?
So here are the boxes that we were working on. They are now in place at the perfect height, which was determined with the laser level. On the inside is the rebar cage for stabilizing the concrete. There's all of those. And over here, where we did the trenches, you can see that we had to put up the wood frame because the trenches were just too wide with the big giant rocks that were pulled out. So we got that all nice. That's the stair stepping I was talking about. Billy had to drill into that big rock to get the rebar in there because obviously you can't hammer that. Okay, as you can see, the concrete has been poured. I wasn't able to be out here when that happened, but my husband was. He's the one that got the pictures. But he was helping do this process. So yeah, he wasn't gonna take video for me. In the middle, you can tell that they did in fact fill in that hole, even though we had the cubes in there, the boxes. The concrete guys let my husband know that oftentimes they'll just fill all the way up, all the way around it to allow for more stability. And because we actually had leftover concrete in the end, It's not like we had to pay any more for it. It was what we had ordered anyway, so it'll work. I just want to show there's a stair step that worked out great. Here's the back side of the house, and then for the pillars for our big back porch. And there's the other stair step, and where it goes over where that big old rock was. And yes, it does kind of look crooked. However, it's just wider than it needs to be. We weren't worried about trying to frame up that little bit right there. We just figured, no, we'll let them just fill it with concrete, and then we'll get it all squared up with the blocks. So that's it for this part of the foundation. Next time we are going to be filming about laying block, and we actually think we have a guy to do that, so we will not have to master YouTube videos and do that ourselves. And then we also now have a guy that will be coming out with his Bobcat to move all the mass amounts of rocks and the dirt for us, which is fantastic, because like I said, we just don't have that kind of equipment. So we're gonna share how all that's gonna go about as well. So I will see you next time on Modern Day Homesteading in Arizona.